Drones over New Jersey have just been banned. It is a national defense airspace now. Check this out.
The government in response to those recent drone sightings in the Northeast, the FAA has issued a ban on flying drones in parts of New Jersey until January 17th without special permission from the government due to, quote, special security reasons. The rule applies to areas now deemed national defense airspace. Despite this new rule, officials have said there is no evidence the drone spotted recently pose any kind of threat.
Are we sure that we heard that correct? What did he just say? Listen to this again. This is crazy.
Now deemed national defense airspace. The area is now deemed national defense airspace.
So this is real. The FAA just issued a temporary ban on all the drone flights over some areas of New Jersey. This is good news because now when you see a drone in the sky, you know it's not supposed to be there. And also because they actually list the townships and the areas where you're not allowed to fly the drones, they just gave away where all these drones are flying and where they're concerned about. So if you want to go see one of these drones that's not supposed to be there, they actually spill the beans and tell you exactly where to go and look. Now, when you go there, don't fly your drones, but apparently as far as Hancock's Bridge, Cedar Grove, and Clifton, the TFRs include Elizabeth, Camden, Bayonne, did I say that right? And so if you can go to these areas, apparently those are the spots that they're concerned about. So it says no person, group, or government agency has taken any responsibility for these drones yet. This is just crazy. Now, one of the other theories that was being posed out there was that this was some kind of a corridor for flying drones for NASA or for commercial air drone training. And this was kind of put out there saying that that's what was going on. These drones were part of a commercial and NASA joint operation to test fly these drones over the city and that they were doing it at night. This was put all over there. Tons of people even left this in the comments of my videos saying that this was the answer and this is what was going on. And that's not true. Alex Hollings just made a video where he debunked himself on that entire theory. Check this out.
And I'm here today to tell you that I was wrong. It's important to follow the evidence to where it leads in situations like this, but it's even more important that we can acknowledge when we're wrong about where we think that evidence led. So let's clear things up, because this mystery is still a mystery. NASA has confirmed that they do not have any drones operating in or around New Jersey. And that brings us to U.S. Transportation Command, who did indeed announce the establishment of a drone testing corridor between Delaware and New Jersey last year. But I learned today, so far, there have been no drone flights associated with this program.
It's not them.
Neither have drones flying over New Jersey.
So now that's out of the way, let's hear from former Pentagon official Lou Elizondo. Whether you like him or not, whether you think he's disinformation or not, this is what he has to say. He's right at the heart of all of this and friends with some of my colleagues.
Biden and his administration say whatever it is that people are seeing up in the skies, it poses no threat. How do they know?
Well, we don't, and that's just the bottom line, Elizabeth. It's the excuse from my perspective is inexcusable. The bottom line is that the federal government is not being honest with the American people, chalking all these drones up as legally operated vehicles and aircraft and law enforcement. If that's the case, they would not be shutting down military installations because of drone incursions.
I agree.
It just simply does not make sense.
If everything's fine and there's nothing to see there, why do you need a classified briefing?
Correct. Unless you're going to be hiding the sources and means and methods of your collection. But most of these databases are completely unclassified databases. If they are tracking all of these drones and helicopters and airplanes with transponders and other technology like radar that's available to anybody who's got the app on their phone, then why is it a classified briefing?
I agree.
The answer is that there is no real good answer. And I still think the administration needs to be more transparent with the American public.
The government and the CIA are holding private meetings, classified meetings about all of this to discuss it. So why are they classifying it all if there's nothing going on? I asked these questions and more to physicist and engineer Dr. Jim Segala, who has been working behind the scenes on this UFO disclosure project. He's been to the Pentagon, he's been to Washington, D.C., he's reported on all of this stuff multiple times, and he's been working heavily on providing solutions and ways that we can actually track the proof of these plasma form entities, UFOs, and drone activities, where they're coming from, where they're going, and actually how they affect you personally.
Yes, and Dr. Jim Segala, he's been featured on the hit show Skinwalker Ranch, which a lot of our viewers are familiar with. What are some of the otherworldly reports he's actually been able to verify with that proof and evidence?
Well, a lot of it is it's very clever. A lot of people were reporting phenomena. And one of the great dilemmas is the debunkers always say, where's the evidence? How do you prove this? And so what Jim conceived was a system where he set up a system of sensors called MUPAS, which are essentially looking for all the kind of different things that might happen during anomalous phenomena. Gamma radiation, electromagnetic radiation, gravitometers, changes in gravity. And he measured those with a sensor that the person who was experiencing this phenomena didn't know what it was recording. And they were writing down in a book at exactly the right time when they were experiencing things like UFOs, when they were having weird poltergeist phenomena in their house. And the incredible thing that Jim has discovered, which I think is potentially very scientifically significant, is that he was able to predict with an incredible accuracy of 4.8 sigma, which is a very high degree of accuracy, when these anomalous events were going to occur, based on what the signals were showing in the sensors that he'd set up.
Here are some highlights from my interview last night. If you want to watch the full video, go check it out on YouTube. You've even been to Washington, D.C. and reported on things in the last few years.
So I briefed them at the Senate House at the Pentagon. We brief people, and it's interesting when you go to these places and you talk to these high-level intelligence people. I mean, all the guys in the Senate, Senate building are all intelligence people, and because they're gathering information, they're reporting up to the senators or doing all these things. And it's interesting to watch the dynamics in the room when you tell them things that you would expect they knew already. They're just looking for verification. You find out, well, they don't really know all these things. So, you question, what does the government really, really know deep down? If you think something's going on, don't think you're crazy. But take action. Don't just let it go.
What do you have to say to everybody that's in the last month or so that's been seeing these large drones flying over? What is your impression as you're watching the news and seeing them come out and talk? Even Trump came out and said that
something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth? They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
There's a ton of people on TikTok right now that are convinced that these drones are trying to look for orbs and plasma, that there's some kind of an uptick in orb activity, and this idea that there's actual living plasma interacting with us in some way, like UFOs, is a huge topic of conversation. I just want to know and give you an opportunity to talk about what's going on in the news and give your opinions.
Well, I think that there's no doubt in our minds now, after all these years, that there is things in the sky that we don't know about, and we don't see them all the time, but they're there. They might not be visible to us, but they're there making, whatever signals there are. So then the big question is that, are we being affected by these, or are they completely harmless and they're not affecting our lives, or not affecting our psyche or our physiology? And I think that's quite wrong. I think that you have to realize that anything you put in our environment is going to affect us. They're out there. We know they're out there. Let's get enough density out there so we can actually monitor this thing. So if it is an orb, we can see it, figure it out, triangulation on it, figure out where it's been, and get more information that way. We would have seen a drone fly from sensor to sensor to sensor, and we would be able to almost pick that thing up and say, this is where it is, this is where it's going, and this is where it came from. So you say, are these things projecting out any kind of information? Are they radioactive? Are they sending out signals? Or is there a large microwave component? And there's nobody, you don't know, because you don't have sensors on the ground measuring and quantifying these things. But we do, unfortunately, with all the devices that I now have out there There's a bunch in New Hampshire right now that are actually on and looking.
If we had a cluster of those around New Jersey and upstate New York and around all that area, you could literally track these mysterious drones and UFOs as they went across the city. You could tell, oh, it flew from this place to this place to this place, and know where it came from and where it went, the energy it was giving off, and be able to get a good baseline, especially if you line that up with people taking videos and typing in what they saw. We would get a really clear idea that, I mean, what's going on.
You could be going along your everyday life, and all of a sudden, maybe you're sitting in your house and a drone flies over that, pumping out serious microwave radiation. It picks it up. It does something to your psyche. It has some effect on your brain physiology. Can't discount all the reports and people's narratives. They say now 70% of the population has had these anomalous experiences. You can't discount that anymore. You can't say, well, they're all crazy. Well, that means everybody's crazy. So you can't, in science, when you have enough data, the law of large numbers says that it has to be true. You can't discount it. So if there is something in the environment that's affecting us, and it's happened all these times, we can't just slough it off and say, we'll let it go.